MTR confirms new scare, this time 2 support pillars found to be sinking. EU tariffs against the United States take effect as trade war escalates. And as the White House struggles to contain a fallout from migrant crisis, people ask what's up with Melania Trump's jacket.
Good evening and welcome. The MTR Corporation is under fire again, this time over its failure to notify the public quickly about sinking bridge columns at one of its stations. Wena Wong reports.
They say trouble comes in threes, but for the MTR Corporation, it's been way more than that. It's been revealed that 2 bridge columns have been sinking at the West Rail Line's Yuen Long station. The rail operator is already in hot water over a number of shoddy construction work scandals at the Sha Tin to Central Link and Express Rail Link projects. The MTRC apparently first realized this as early as 2012, when Sun Hung Kai Properties began piling works at the construction site of a nearby residential project. Then, in late 2013, the sinking reached a safety threshold of 20 millimeters, prompting the MTRC to ask the developer to stop works for Phase 3 of Grand Yoho. The rail operator then tried to work out a way to solve the problem with SHK and the government. That apparently took another 4 years, because it wasn't until October 2017 when reinforcement work for the columns began. Sun Hung Kai says it's willing to pay for the extra construction. One lawmaker believes the public shouldn't be so quick to condemn just yet.
As long as MTR has notified the buildings department about this incident as early as 2013, which my understanding is that they have, watching if the substance would further continue to aggravate. But apparently it's been staying at that level all this time, so now it is still far within the safety level of 45 millimeter.
But another thinks it shouldn't be let off so easily.
The MTR have questions to answer. Why would the issue not be important? I applied the urgent case in council meeting to ask MTR to provide more details.
The MTRC says it has been monitoring the surrounding structures all along and vows passengers are safe. SHK also says it will not continue with Grand Yoho until reinforcement works have been completed. Wena Wong, TVB News.
Mainland laws will apply in parts of West Kowloon Station after the co-location bill was gazetted today. When the express rail link opens in September, mainland officers will have jurisdiction at different levels of the terminus and train carriages. Though its commencement date has not been announced, the co-location bill faces several legal challenges. This includes applications for judicial reviews launched by ousted lawmakers Leung Kwok Hung and Sixtus Lung.
Health authorities in Hong Kong have instructed a drug manufacturer in Indonesia to conduct an investigation into their product, which was found contaminated with mold. Scares prompted local pharmacies to pull the digestive from the shelves. Pinky Wong reports.
This Anxiplex tablet is an over-the-counter medicine packed with vitamins and enzymes for digestive disorders. Queen Mary Hospital yesterday confirmed this drug taken by one of their patients was contaminated by a type of mold. That's why the Department of Health has instructed the local supplier and the Indonesian manufacturer to conduct an investigation. Some local pharmacies took immediate action and pulled the drug off the shelves even before the supplier suggested this afternoon that they do so. The Hong Kong General Chamber of Pharmacy Limited sent a notice to its members, suggesting that they not sell this product until an official hospital authority report is out. This pharmacy sold at least 20 boxes of this medicine in the last 4 weeks. If the authorities initiate a recall, the shop will offer customers a full refund as long as they return the drugs. Lau Or Kwok of the Hong Kong General Chamber of Pharmacy Limited said the Monascus fungal infection is not hazardous to a healthy person. Queen Mary Hospital confirmed last night that after examining the stool sample of a recently deceased female cancer patient, there were traces of mold contamination of the digestive medicine she ingested. But the hospital authorities stressed her death was not caused by a fungal infection. The Department of Health has reminded people who took this drug and felt unwell to seek medical advice as soon as possible. Thank you all. TVB News.
Turning overseas, the European Union is punching back at the United States with tariffs on American goods that take effect today. It's in retaliation to the tariffs of 25% on steel and 10% on aluminum products announced by the Trump administration in March. Alan Booknia reports.
The European Union is slapping a 25% tariff on $3.4 billion worth of American imports, including cranberries, some jeans, orange juice, and iconic products such as Harley-Davidson motorcycles and bourbon whiskey. U.S. President Donald Trump said the measures against steel and aluminum products are to protect national interests. But what American whiskey makers have dreaded has become reality.
25% price increase is going to put us really expensive compared to other products that are already available in Europe, made by either European producers or Indian or even Japanese producers.
Foreign markets have become lucrative for American whiskey distillers. Exports topped $1 billion in 2017, continuing a strong trend.
The difficult thing about being in the whiskey business is, we've laid down whiskey years ago in anticipation of markets for today. And so, this is a big boat to shift around very quickly.
On the other side of the Atlantic, European whiskey retailers are not concerned with the new tariffs. Whiskey shop owner Jürgen Hahn says if bourbon gets too expensive, he just won't offer it to clients anymore. He said there are plenty of products to take its place. But the highest stake fight still looms between the world's two biggest economies. In 2 weeks, the United States will start taxing up to $50 billion in Chinese goods. Beijing is set to respond with a tax of up to $50 billion on American imports. Donald Trump then upped the rhetoric by saying if Beijing does that, Washington will then target an additional $200 billion of Chinese products. China's state-run media today said America's protectionism is delusional and self-defeating. Alan Booknia, TVB News.
The U.S. government is wrestling with the fallout of a zero-tolerance policy, prosecuting all adults caught trying to enter the country illegally. President Donald Trump has moved to stop separating families at the border, but there are few clear answers about how and when thousands of parents and children already separated will be reunited. After months of zero tolerance, the immigration system in South Texas is overwhelmed, and mayors from border cities are calling it a humanitarian crisis. As the crisis drags on, there are growing concerns about the consequences.
The Trump administration has separated more than 2,000 children from their parents, including inflicting toxic stress and irreversible psychological trauma on these children.
Meanwhile, Trump continues to spread blame around, accusing Mexico of allowing an influx of immigrants from Central America and the Democrats of simply not caring.
Their policies stink. They're no good. They have no ideas. They have no nothing. The Democrats. All they can do is obstruct it.
Trump said both sides need to tango, and he informally invited Democratic leaders to discuss immigration legislation.
We should be able to do a bill. I'd invite them to come over to the White House anytime they want.
You all want to be locked up in a prison camp? No.
As protesters demand action, one of two Republican-led immigration bills has failed on the House floor. The other is close to collapse, fueling uncertainty about government efforts aimed at resolving broader immigration issues ahead of November elections.
We do not want children taken away from their parents.
Democrats say the Republican proposals won't work.
It is not a compromise. It may be a compromise with the devil, but it's not a compromise with the Democrats in terms of what they have in their bill.
Immigration rights advocates say they'll keep up the pressure.
Everybody is quick to go to our camera and express their outrage and disappointment that this is actually happening. But unfortunately, there's not enough substantive policies that would make sure that this type of crisis is resolved.
Well, it was intended as a soft touch gesture against a hardline immigration policy that had been separating migrant children from their parents, but instead a surprise trip to Texas by the U.S. First Lady is facing scrutiny because of a fashion choice. As she was leaving Washington, D.C. yesterday, Melania Trump was wearing a jacket with a graffiti-style message on the back that read, "I really don't care, do you?" When asked what message the First Lady was trying to send, a spokesperson said it's just a jacket, there's no hidden message. The spokesperson added they hoped the media wouldn't choose to focus on her wardrobe. Mrs. Trump was wearing a different jacket by the time the plane landed in Texas. The trip came a day after the president retreated on the issue of separating families at the border.
And when we get back, URA unveils plan to revamp To Kwa Wan. Sights and sounds of the summer solstice.
QR code 換冰塊，即有機會贏大獎。箍住夏天，冰鎮俄羅斯方塊。
Welcome back. The Urban Renewal Authority wants to build 560 new homes by redeveloping old buildings in Kowloon. Still, URA executives remain unclear about how much they'll need to pay affected households. Mi Lung reports.
Take a good look at these buildings in To Kwa Wan. These 8-story blocks on Wing Kwong and Sung'on streets are all more than 50 years old and have no lifts. Depending on further evaluation, they may be demolished to make way for 560 new flats, just 60 more than what authorities are trying to replace. Urban Renewal Authority staff made their way to the neighborhood for a survey to confirm how many property owners would be affected in the proposed project. That includes flats as well as 50 ground floor shops. This man was almost in tears to think decades of hard work would be gone if he has to move his business. Some residents of the dilapidated blocks don't seem to mind. This resident is hoping for an end to water seepage problems and hopes to get at least $15,000 per square foot as compensation. The Urban Renewal Authority is pitching this project, one of 6 in To Kwa Wan, as a way to create a better living environment which will provide 3,000 new flats combined.
Provide a public car park in one of our projects so that more space on the ground floor can return to the pedestrian for greenery, for a widened pavement.
Yet when it comes to finances, Ao only said the market fluctuates and couldn't say how much they'll pay affected owners, as it might be another 18 months before they make an offer. Compensation is based on the rate of a 7-year-old flat in the area. Ao Mi Long, TVB News.
Well, meanwhile, the General Post Office building that served Hong Kong for the past 42 years will soon be part of history. That's as lawmakers today approved the government's proposal to relocate the headquarters. Sharon Tang tells us more.
Like it or not, another city landmark will soon be gone. By a vote of 19 to 14, LegCo's Public Works Subcommittee today gave the green light to demolish Hong Kong Post's headquarters at the General Post Office building in Central. Some lawmakers are upset about this.
The buildings are still very functional and in good conditions. It's an iconic building in Central.
But the subcommittee's chairman said demolition was a policy matter which should be only discussed in a council meeting. Others cast doubt on whether the government mentioned the possibility of demolition in its public consultation, which began 10 years ago.
There was nothing. So how can you call this public consultation? We have not concealed anything. We did try to identify the buildings that should be preserved in Central. We identified more than 10, and no mention was made about the GPO building.
While the Public Works Subcommittee voted in favor of moving the General Post Office to an 8-story postal complex in Kowloon Bay, LegCo's Finance Committee will still need to discuss the $1.6 billion funding request. If approved, the new building will open in 2022. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
The observatory has warned people to remain alert because of unstable weather in the region. This as the amber rainstorm warning was raised earlier today. The signal was hoisted at around 12:15 this afternoon. Gusts exceeding 70 kilometers per hour were recorded at Chung Chau Island. Also, another rain spout was spotted today. The observatory says squally thunderstorms will continue in the coming days.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam is trying to strengthen ties with France as she continues her official visit to promote Hong Kong. The message of business opportunities from the Belt and Road Initiative was echoed in a meeting with French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe. Before wrapping up her week-long visit in France, the chief executive also visited a business incubator for startups. SAR officials then signed a memorandum with the French Institute to set up a research center for infection, immunology, and personalized medicine at Hong Kong Science Park.
A radical cleric was sentenced to death in Indonesia today. Radical cleric Aman Abdurrahman was already serving a terrorism-related sentence. This time he was put on trial for directing even more attacks from prison through his network of extremists pledged to ISIS. The attacks include the suicide bombing at a Starbucks in Jakarta that killed 4 civilians back in 2016. He also inspired an attack on a bus terminal that killed 3 police officers. Another attack on a church killed a 2-year-old girl and left several other children burned. People around the world took part in various traditions marking the summer solstice. We take you to New York, Britain, and Greece for their unique celebrations. We begin in England, where drone footage captured more than 9,000 people gathering at Stonehenge to celebrate summer solstice. It's when the sun reaches its highest position in the sky, making it the longest day of the year because it gives us the longest period of daylight. Summer solstice enthusiasts have been flocking to the World Heritage Site since 1974. That's because if you stand in just the right spot inside the Neolithic stone circle, you'll catch the most breathtaking sunrise. And press back to downward dog, so your toes to the ground, lift your knees to the front of the back. Over in New York, thousands of summer solstice enthusiasts beckon their inner Shakti, or energy and strength, to partake in a mass yoga class in the middle of Times Square. The event is staged every year, and participants are challenged with blocking out the city's crowded hustle and bustle and get into that Zen mode.
Times Square is chaotic, New York is chaotic, and I always tell my students that you don't need to go to a deserted island to find calm and peace. You need to be able to find calm amidst the storm. So it's actually really great practice to hear all the sirens and the craziness of everything and try to find your inner peace.
Among those getting their yoga groove on was American gymnast and 2-time Olympian Ali Reisman, seen posing in pigtails, along with Japanese actress Mizuki Yamamoto. In Greece, summer solstice is celebrated along with World Music Day. They mark the occasion by playing songs featuring ancient Greek sounds that transfix audiences. The songs resonate from ancient musical instruments in Athens. A family of musicians recreated exact replicas from natural materials including animal shells, bones, hides, and horns. They entertain with hymns sung to the mythological Greek gods thousands of years ago. And from all of us, have a great weekend, everyone.